bro. I think that's big. Like I always pride my relationship with Dice, man. God bless that. Because at a young age, when I was like 17, 18, maybe even a little bit before that, he was coming to me. Like he would hear about us, he would hear about Hoodlum, you know what I mean? And anytime that we would go and do a show at the Booker Washington Center or whatever, where I knew it was like him and Kid, these guys were legends. We would hear these guys. Ken the Kid was a myth. Again, R.I.P. the dead. God bless the dead. Way would talk about Ken the Kid like he was like Rashido Jones or something on Boondocks. Remember? It was like he's this myth and who this dude. And I remember the first time I heard him, I was like, oh, he's a rapper. Yeah. And then when the first time I met him, that's another thing when it comes to the culture. I'm huge on first impressions, and then also your level of humbleness. Not humbleness meaning you shine the shoes, but do you know how to shake somebody's hand and look them in the eye? Can you hold a conversation? Things like that. The music that you're making, does it make any sense? Like what's going on? Like, do you have any individuality or do you sound like everything else? And I feel like that's why cats like us were able to persevere through a time like that because, history repeats itself. And with the hip hop culture, it's always going to come back to square one, the golden era, beats and rhymes, having fun, whatever it is, showing how great you are with this craft. And we didn't ride waves to get to where we are, right? You not what, 22? What are you? How many projects are you in right now?
Man, not 20. But I probably got about. Man, I think
you got a good
8 to. It's like 8 to 10 projects.
Okay,
8 to 10
I just know 1 year I feel like what was it 21? You flooded like you.
Yeah, I had took a break and then in 2024 I put out like 4 projects at one time.
So
not
maybe
one time, but through periods of the time.
But you know what I'm saying? Like you see like how and that consistency too. Like bro, and then obviously like you smart because then you create a platform for the people in the midst of you dropping your own stuff.
Right.
Like for real. And you letting the people dictate what's going on. Like bro, like you literally was getting death threats and stuff because I just dealt with this too with Fly Jones. Shout out my dog Fly Jones. We got a lot of shit coming. But we were just talking about how he had, how he did the Rotten Peaches or whatever, and how he said y'all put y'all top 5.
Oh yeah, I see.
And motherfuckers lost their mind. They lost their mind, and they came and that's a sign. I'm not to cut you off. No, you good.
Even to me, and that's one of the things about the power that exists within the culture is that's how you know that the culture is different than it was before. Because first, when we was coming up, it wasn't no festival that could exist for you to
there
even
wasn't
have
social
the
media
argument.
either.
That wasn't social media. But even outside of that, it could have been no social media, and it could have still just been a festival or an event, and those things didn't exist in the way that exists now. There weren't people creating multiple platforms for artists, specifically hip hop artists, to be able to push the culture forward. So that way you could have the argument within the culture. All the arguments that was being had when we was growing up, even though they might have been about a few artists here, there's mainly arguments about bigger rappers, most famous rappers.
Yeah, for sure.
You had to really be niche to even know the rappers that existed here.
I've watched you had to know
these arguments have gotten bigger year after year.
Yes, bro, they do.
And it's more people,
and more people,
and more people are invested in it. And that's to me one of the signs of just how far the culture has grown in the past.
That's that point of view there, bro. That point of view there is amazing, dog. You think about how much it grown every year, bro. It does get bigger, bro.
And Blaze are opening up at I tell just not every person, but different people when we've talked about live performances and talked about like inspirations and talked about the culture growing. One of the things that I always go back to is when my mom grew up here, they grew up and she seen people go to the BMO Center and she seen Bobby Brown.
Rakim and all those guys. Biggie was here.
We was in high school. I think the last little set was when the B2K and them, whatever the Bow Wow tour was.
And then Murphy Lee was here. And then Murphy Lee came.
And they was there. And that was sort of, and at the time, it's hard to say this now, but at the time, Murphy Lee was big.
Ain't that crazy?
And so it was like that, but that was like the last breath of it. Like by the time we got to a place where
we could really,
somebody,
we was at the rave trying to catch the big
exactly.
We couldn't even go to Chicago because Chicago is really an amoeba of
they got their
culture
own
too.
thing that exists there. So you had to even first to see an artist that was closer to what you was creating, you had to go out of town to see it.
Right.
And then once you went out of town to see it, it was even less probability that whoever was going to open or be at the show was going to be somebody that's from where you from.
Yep.
And so to live in a time where Gucci Mane and Young Jeezy and all these different people come to the Hard Rock Casino that's right up the street in Rockford.
Yep.
And all these different young artists and young black people can come here and just go to in Rockford and get inspired. Right. And then to have somebody from Rockford open up a show there at the Hard Rock Casino for a major artist. It just shows huge. How far the culture has gone.
Blaze, you know you the nigga.
And to be able to have a song that people know.
Facts. The city know where it could really make sense for him to be on that stage. Yeah. And that's another thing I think.
You said I did you dirt to know your worth. Join the long line. Join the long line. Join the long line. Throwing off our rhythm, I'm a victim of my own lies. Of my own lies. Of my own.
So I might be with my twin. Me and twin to tweak over the ends. I ain't close to my peak, but I'm in. Can't fake me or even compete with my blend. I'm nice with the clip bust. I'm white with the switch up. I gotta get richer. Got product in the picture.